Good morning Year 11 and welcome to our second video exploring this question in prep for our mock. So we're looking at how far, to what extent, does Shakespeare present Lady Macbeth as a powerful woman? And we explored her yesterday at the start of the play, and today we are going to look at Act 2, Scene 2, the dagger scene, and arguably she's at her height of power. In this scene. It's the pinnacle, the climax of her power within the play. We never see her quite so in command as we do in this scene. So let's have a little look at what we've got in this scene and what we can learn about Lady Macbeth and her power. So it starts with her asserting that the wine that has made the guards and possibly her guests drunk has given her fire, has made her bold. So we can see straight away that Shakespeare is setting, letting us know that she's fired up. She's really emboldened for the deadly deeds that her and her husband are about to commit. She feels powerful. So not only is she powerful, but she feels powerful. And Shakespeare shows great power and confidence here. And as the scene unfolds, we realise that this is a foil to her husband's later fear and trepidation. We see him overcome by fear and trepidation, and her confidence really seizing control and being in command in this scene. We also find out here her part in the practical planning of the murder. She tells us, I have drugged their possets, I have drugged their cups, I have drugged their drinks. And later on she says, I laid their daggers ready. So she outlines the practical planning and actions that she has taken. She is not an innocent bystander. She is not watching from the sidelines. She is actively involved in this murder. She's been an active part of their enterprise. And interestingly, this possessive pronoun, I have drugged their possets, I laid their daggers ready. She's very proud to take ownership of her part in the plot, in the murder. So we see here that she has great power of thinking, and she's almost the mastermind, the powerful force that has plotted and brought this murder about. She's clearly a woman with a plan, and she has acted to bring about the murder of Duncan. And we have that pride, that ownership and pride for what she has done. Then we have a moment in the scene which is very interesting. She says that although she has been part of the active planning, she's drugged the cups, she's got the daggers ready. She said, I would have killed him myself had he not resembled my father as he slept. I would have done it if he did not look like my father as he slept. Now we learn some important information there. We learn that she's been into the chamber. She's gone in with the daggers. She's laid them out, and she would have done it herself, only he looked like her father. Now this shows a weak spot. We can see here a flaw in her power. It's a moment of weakness and vulnerability. It's as though her love for her father prevents her from killing Duncan. So here I think that Shakespeare is cleverly reminding us Lady Macbeth is a woman, and she has womanly frailties, feminine frailties, women's weakness. She demonstrates a filial obligation. A filial obligation is the obligation and duty children have towards their parents. And we can see here that she was unable to kill Duncan because he looked like her own father whilst he was sleeping. And it's that filial obligation, that feminine frailty that prevents her from doing the dark deed of murder. That's the part she needs Macbeth to do. That's the part where she needs Macbeth to step up and to perform his role. Interestingly, as the scene goes on, we see her trying to control the thoughts and mind of her husband. We see her exerting her power over her husband's mind and thoughts. She says to him, "These deeds must not be thought after these ways, so it will make us mad. You need to not be thinking like this. It will drive you mad. It will drive us mad." Macbeth is reliving his moments in the chamber. He's reliving the guards saying their prayers. He's going over and over it in his mind. And she says, "You need to stop doing that. It will drive us mad." She also says later on to him, "Be not lost so poorly in your thoughts. Get out of your own head. Don't lose yourself in these thoughts." So here, not only is she seeking to take command of the practical planning, she's seeking to take control and exert her power over her husband's thoughts, exert her power over her husband's mind. She uses this imperative, must. So she's taking control, she's commanding. These deeds must not be thought of. She's very much in the driving seat. She's very much in control. Not only has she been a huge part of the practical planning, but she's now counseling him, instructing him, commanding him how he should behave, how he should think moving forwards. So we have here reference to the hand washing, which is clearly important later on in Act 5, Scene 1. She tells her husband, "You make yourself weak by thinking in this way. You do unbend your noble strength to think so brain sickly of things." And her advice to him is this: go get some water and wash this filthy witness from your hands. Later on, when the knocking begins, she says, "Retire we to our chamber. Let's go to bed. A little water clears us of this deed." She's saying to him, we can wash our hands. Let's use some water, wash our hands, take away the blood, and everything will be fine. So we can see that in this really high moment of tension, they are literally stood there in the corridor with blood all over their hands. And we can see that she's composed and controlled. She's in command. She has her power and she's using it to be practical and decisive. And the advice that she offers in this moment of heightened emotion of murder seems strangely ordinary and everyday. Wash your hands. Come on, get some water. Wash your hands. And this is a really clever juxtaposition, because the mundane, ordinary, everyday advice to wash their hands is juxtaposed with this terrible, horrifying act of regicide. And this is important because here she's very matter of fact. Wash our hands, it will be okay. She's at the height of her power. She's in control. She's in command. We see later on in the sleepwalking scene that the little water was not enough, and that all the perfumes of Arabia cannot remove the blood from her hands, the guilt from her soul. So we're seeing here that the power, although it's huge and she's in control, we know as an audience it will be short-lived. Interestingly, Shakespeare personifies the blood. He refers to the blood as a filthy witness, something that could tell, something that could condemn them. And this personification gives the blood power, gives the guilt power to condemn and later betray them. Finally, we have her turning to her husband when he is quailing, when he is unsure, when he cannot go back in and take those daggers. She calls him infirm of purpose, "Give me the daggers." And later on, "My hands are of your colour, but I shame to wear a heart so white. My hands are bloody, my hands are red, but my heart is not cowardly, my heart is not pale." So Shakespeare here very cleverly juxtaposes Macbeth's cowardice and his wife's bravery. Lady Macbeth is bold, she's resolved, she's courageous, she's able to remain calm under pressure. She scolds him, she tells him off, infirm of purpose. You are infirm, you do not know what you propose. She has the power, he does not. And remember, this is a brave, supposedly fearless warrior, a bridegroom of Bellona, Valor's minion. And here he is afraid and uncertain, and the irony is it's a woman, a supposedly weak and frail Jacobean woman, that is taking control in this situation. So as ever, here is an illustrative paragraph of how we can take everything we've explored and put it together using our what in yellow, our blue is the why, and our grey is the blue is the how, and the grey is the why, that context, that writer's intentions. We'll read it through together, and then you'll see how all the threads of what we've explored have been pulled together in this paragraph. In Act 2, Scene 2, we see Lady Macbeth at the height of her control and power. The deed is done, and Macbeth is unnerved. However, Lady Macbeth remains composed and in command throughout the scene. Shakespeare opens with her boast that she's been emboldened and given fire by wine. We infer her confidence and power from the start, and we see her as the powerful mastermind behind the murder, as she claims ownership over practical plans for the regicide, such as the possets and the daggers. As her husband seems to crumble, she seeks to exert power over Macbeth's mind, urging him to consider it not so deeply or be lost in his doubts. This connotes that she has power and influence over her husband's thoughts too, as well as his deeds. As he becomes more afraid, she becomes even more powerful. It is she that takes back the daggers, as Macbeth is too white and cowardly to do what must be done. Shakespeare portrays her as a ruthless plotter who's able to remain calm and composed under pressure. He uses irony to juxtapose the active power of a supposed weak woman over the weakness of a supposed bridegroom of Bellona. The only moment when Shakespeare reveals a chink in her armour of power is when she could not commit the murder herself, as Duncan reminded her of her father. This suggestion of filial obligation reminds the audience that she is, after all, just a woman, which would have made her power and control very surprising and strange to the audience in 1606. Overall in this scene, her power is a complete foil to the increasing worry and fear shown here by Macbeth. Here Shakespeare is setting her on a pedestal of power so that her later downfall is all the more dramatic. Okay, thanks for that, Year 11. We will meet again to discuss Act 5, Scene 1. Thank you.